Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 12th and final round.
Right hand, Golovkin steps in and down he goes again. Unbelievable. Mayweather makes him pay. What a rookie mistake. A sensational left hook by De La Hoya.
It's facts. I'm the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to believe it myself, but it's the truth. I'm the best. I'm going to show you how great I am.
From Southern California, this is the Last Round Podcast.
Welcome back to episode 215 of the Last Round Podcast. Thank you again for joining us, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Audio Boom, however you're listening, wherever you're at. We appreciate it. All right, jumping right back into it. Fight reviews. This past Saturday, the 1st of April, from the O2 Arena in London on DAZN, Anthony Joshua returns to the ring with a unanimous decision win over 12 rounds against Jermaine Franklin, who takes the second loss of his career. AJ won the fight by scores of 117-111 twice and 118-111. Obviously, this snaps his 2-fight losing streak that he had in back-to-back losses against Alexander Usyk, the current unified. He's unified, right? Unified. He's not undisputed because Fury has a title, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Unified heavyweight champion of the world, Usyk. What do you think about AJ's performance in this comeback fight after back-to-back losses?
Honestly, not great. You could see a few subtle differences that he'd had under new coach Derek James, but I think it was probably a carefully selected opponent for AJ to look good against, right? He just seems to struggle now ever since, his fight with, Vladimir Klitschko, where he actually did, manage to take a few shots, get off the canvas and win. But I don't know whether it's either that fight or is it the loss to Andy Ruiz, where now he seems a bit, overly cautious. And then you could see, Jermaine Franklin was, very clever, and he would throw when AJ threw, kind of like what Andy Ruiz chose to do, because he kind of, had the faster hands. And that made AJ throw less because he's like, okay, as soon as I throw, Franklin's going to throw. And that made him, nervous about, trying to let anything go because he knew something was going to come back his way. And then it just ended up being a boring fight. Or, he would kind of resort to the old school Klitschko ways of like he would throw, get in close, hug. And then Franklin would, trying to like get in and do some good work on the inside. But yeah, in terms of, where do we go from here? I think he loses to Tyson Fury. I think he loses to probably Wilder now. I think he'd be super cautious about letting anything go if he fought Wilder now. I think we'll probably see Joshua get in there with, I think Dillian White I think he literally just posted an hour ago he's going to be back in 12 weeks. So I think we'll see him in with Dillian White in 12 weeks. And then I think hopefully Tyson Fury, but I think it'll be in Saudi Arabia, unfortunately, for our UK listeners, because that's when the money will be, and the pot will be so big. I think Eddie Hearn and all that will probably know it's time to cash out on AJ. And not only that, but at times I think he looks unbothered. Like he doesn't really want to be there. Like he just you'd see him in the corner and like he's not got that laser focus where he's like he's kind of sitting back, arms on the ropes, just kind of leaning back, like looking at Derek James. And I'm like, dude, where's this kind of like the eye of the tiger, that hunger, that like, vicious spite where he wants to get in there and, knock him out and stuff like that. That just seems to have disappeared. And I don't know if AJ's just genetically gifted and, he obviously is a good boxer from, what he's done. Look what he achieved. But I don't know, did he ever love it? Is it just something that brings him a lot of money? Is it just something that's made him into a star? And he's like, what, I have to kind of keep doing it because if I'm not a boxer, like who am I? All his endorsements come because of, what he does. So maybe he just does it for a while because he's feeding so many mouths. Look at, look at all the managers he has, all the sponsorships, all the, all the hangers on, Eddie Hearn himself. So it's I just do look at him and just think like, I was watching him between rounds and I'm like, I don't think this guy even wants to be there. He's just here and as soon as the bell goes, he's just happier. In one of the interviews in the build-up, he said, like, what are you here for now? And he said, money. And then Eddie Hearn was like, oh, he didn't mean that. I know AJ, he didn't mean that. He's here for legacy, really. I think he is. I think he is there just for money. I think he was being 100% honest when he said that. But looking at looking at him between rounds, and look how happy he looked after the fight on IFL TV. I think he prefers that side of it more than anything else.
I think you're right in terms of after the Ruiz loss. I know he came back in the rematch, won the belts and all that. That obviously affected him, but also the loss to Usyk. I think it was it the first one or the second one? I don't even remember. But the one where I think it was the first one where he got the microphone and he started kind of complaining about criticisms that he gets. It was the second one, right? That's when you kind of saw I guess the change, if you want to pinpoint, is everybody gets criticized. He's one of the biggest fighters in the sport, physically and literally, with one of the biggest profiles. He's at the top. He's as closest to Canelo as you could get, essentially. And I think that the losses that he suffered the last couple years or so, and the criticism became a lot more real to him, and it really got under his skin after those losses, especially the Usyk losses. So I think you're right. I think it's just more of he's like, well, all these people, they still criticize me saying this and that and blah, 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 blah. So he kind of just has like you said, he had his hands on the ropes in the corner, and it's there's no eye of the tiger and stuff like that. Maybe he's just kind of unbothered now to an extent. I still think because I saw a clip where he mentioned something about Lomachenko. Lomachenko recently said something about that AJ was like a powerful guy. I don't know. They asked him about AJ, and AJ responded to that and said, "Oh, I was kind of insulted by that." Like how Lomachenko said, "Oh, I was just strong or something." I think he was trying to elaborate in terms of saying, "I'm a fighter. I have boxing skills," and he said he was insulted by the way Lomachenko kind of said, "Oh yeah, he's a strong guy" or something like that. He didn't give him more credit essentially. So I think it's his way to kind of show all those critics, which when you get to that level, you're gonna have critics, you're gonna have haters, but it's his way to kind of be whatever. It's a strange. It's I don't want to say strange. It's interesting to watch him now, ever since the Ruiz loss, and now more recently, ever since the Usyk losses, because you're seeing a change in him. Not only in his fighting style. I mean, I get it, but even in behavior. If you want to compare that, how would you compare it to Canelo? When Canelo took a loss, against Floyd Mayweather, for example, his first loss, or even his loss against Bivol recently, or something like that. What do you think in comparison? Because AJ's obviously a big star. He's obviously a lot bigger in the UK than he is in the US, but he's a big star. And if you want to compare him to another big star, who's the biggest star in the sport, Canelo Alvarez, how would you compare their reactions and their responses to losses or criticism or setback?
In general, I would say, Canelo hates it. He hates to lose, but he is, kind of respectful about it, about the sport, and, he takes it on the chin. But I think he goes away and he grinds and he grinds and he grinds because, I think a lot of people don't want him to fight Bivol in September, but, he keeps going against the grain. He's like, no, he beat me. I need to get that back. Whereas I think, AJ, he doesn't like it, but, I think, remember when he lost to Ruiz, and a lot of people were kind of like, why the hell was he so happy afterwards? Why was he congratulating Andy Ruiz and stuff like that? Which we do like, but you do want him to be respectful, right. But at the same time, kind of pissed off that everything he's worked for all those years he's just lost. I would say Canelo is just a bit of a more of a born winner, because either AJ just hides it really, really, really well, or he's just got to the point now where I think maybe he's just made so much money, and he was just, I always go on about it, just genetically gifted that he could turn his talent to quite a lot of different sports, and he was just really good at it. I don't think he necessarily loves boxing like he does, he didn't start doing it at the age of like 5, 6 years old, and he's worked his way all the way up like Tyson Fury. And that's why I think, at times he's limited, and every time he's in the ring, he looks like he has to think about every single thing that he does. It just doesn't come naturally to him because he took up the spot at such an older age.
What do you think about Jermaine Franklin's performance? Because you thought there was a good chance that Franklin could have pulled off the upset because he was like 20, 25 pounds lighter. So it seemed like there were signs there that he was, obviously he wanted to win, but he was like more focused on coming to win. What did you think about? Obviously, he took the loss by decision, but what did you think about his performance?
I thought he performed really well. I think he's got a good chin. I thought his game plan, for the body shape that he had and the characteristics that he has, similar to Ruiz, like he's kind of like a short, stocky type of fighter with fast hands. And, that's what he did. He was trying to throw when AJ was throwing. But when he got to the last couple of rounds, I liked the fact that like his corner were telling him the truth, like you're going to have to knock him out. You're going to have to go for it. And that's what he did. He just threw caution to the wind, because I think at times as fans, we're all kind of like bemused, when it gets to the last couple of rounds and someone's pretty much 10 rounds down, they don't throw caution to the wind. We're like, well, did you want to win? Like, it's kind of obvious that you did, that's what you need to do. And at least Franklin did that. I thought he gave a good show of himself, and, he's literally from rags to riches, right? I'm pretty sure he got a great payday against AJ, and he obviously was working part-time, I think, even when he fought Dillian Whyte, and then he got some money for that one, and he got some money for this, and he's managed to change himself into a full-time fighter now. And I think he deserves it on those 2 performances. He went 24 rounds with Dillian Whyte,
both of them,
and AJ. So I think get him in there with some more big names. Kind of like did Andy Ruiz, didn't he? To a certain extent, Ruiz got that big shot, and then he performed well, and Franklin's kind of done the same thing. And I think you'll see his name pop up a lot more. Same as Otto Wallin, I guess, as well.
Right. Especially now that Franklin's name is associated with AJ, not just Dillian Whyte, but now Anthony Joshua. So they'll use him as other promoters or other networks will want to use him for their heavyweights. Like, oh, look, Franklin, like he went 24 rounds with Dillian Whyte and Anthony Joshua, and our heavyweight, John Smith, just knocked him out. The association is the marketing. So, yeah, I think Franklin's still in a good spot. Did you see any noticeable improvement for Anthony Joshua in this first fight being under the tutelage of Derek James, the trainer?
Some little things, like the way he would like parry punches, stuff like that. Like how he would do little shots into the body. I thought he was a little bit better working on the inside than he used to be. Very, very subtle things. I don't know whether it was just this fight because of what I said about Franklin throwing punches at the same time that AJ threw. And I haven't seen the CompuBox stats, but I thought he looked like he actually threw less punches. And I don't know whether that was to save something in the gas tank, because he could tell early on that, Franklin wasn't going to go anywhere. So I think that as well, that's definitely one of the big things is how he looked like he had a better energy tank, because he would always get like 3/4 of the way through the fight, and then he always started to blow a little bit in a lot of his performances.
I feel that he should have stayed with Robert Garcia. I think even though he still lost that fight against Usyk, the rematch, I felt from my perspective that there was more of an improvement there than there was under Derek James in this fight. But, do you agree with that?
No, a lot of people said that on Twitter. A lot of people were saying that in this one, he threw a lot of single shots, but they thought that when he was with Robert for that fight, the second fight against Usyk, he did a lot more combinations. And I would agree with that. I thought he did a lot more combinations under Robert. And I think in a fight like this against someone like Franklin, who was smaller, stocky, probably didn't have as good of movement, I thought that would have been a good thing to do, because with AJ coming in so heavy, you thought he was probably going to go for the knockout. He knew that he was going to be the bigger, hopefully the stronger guy coming in. Was it like 251 pounds or something like that? But yeah, we didn't see him fight like that. He fought more like on the outside, just single jabs constantly, a quick 1-2. But there didn't seem to be many hooks or anything like that. And he didn't really get out that kind of trademark like AJ uppercut. Like the 10th round, something like that, the 10th or 11th, 12th round, you saw him, and then he wouldn't stop throwing it. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know if it's just towards the end, maybe a gas tank. Maybe when he got to the last 3 rounds, he was like, I can kind of empty it now.
I saw a clip of the fight where the referee had separated them, and then when he told them to fight again, I think something happened, but then when he called time in to fight again, as soon as he said time in or for them to engage, AJ, first thing he does is he jumps in for like a clinch, and I was like, what is that? Like right away, like the referee pushes them apart, and then he tells them, okay, fight. AJ just jumps in for like a clinch, like just bam. I was like, what was that? I don't know. Maybe it was a stamina thing. That's what I kind of thought, that it was a kind of a stamina thing. Like, oh, maybe he's kind of winded, so he clinched to kind of try to catch his breath. But I thought that was interesting. But I think you touched on earlier about Fury, Joshua, maybe in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, and then possibly Wilder, obviously, all that. I personally, and I know in the UK and over there they'd want to see Fury, AJ. I get it. But I personally would like to see him go against Wilder. I think Wilder is a lot more competitive fight between AJ and Wilder, respectively, than Fury and Joshua. I think Fury just outboxes him, but I think AJ has a better chance at beating Wilder than he does against Fury. What do you think?
A better chance. I mean, I think he has a slim chance against both of them, to be honest with you, but probably a better chance against Wilder. I still think he loses to. I think he loses to both. I think they'll try to get the biggest payday, which is Tyson Fury, because they probably know deep down that he loses to both of them. Especially with how tentative and scared. Maybe scared's too rough of a word, to say, but. Just imagine AJ against Wilder, knowing that right hand that's coming is going to knock him clean out. He gets worried and doesn't want to throw and second guesses himself and overthinks things against someone like Jermaine Franklin, who Dillian Whyte in his interviews, I think it was before the fight, said that he punches like okay hard, nothing crazy. So just imagine when you get in there with like a Deontay Wilder and you're like, if I fuck up for 1 second and don't move my head or do something wrong, it's lights out. So if you've got to, if I was managing Eddie Hearn, you'd think to yourself, okay, like he's come to the end of his career, his performances are kind of a bit lackluster now. I would probably go Dillian Whyte because of the rivalry there, and the first fight was obviously good, and then cash out against Fury, and then that could be it, depending on what AJ wants to do.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. I mean, who knows? I mean, you said. He posted something about 12 weeks, so he wants to come back within 3 months, at least 3 or 4 months. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, if he does, that's actually good for him. It keeps his momentum going. He comes back right away. I think that's good. So, while he's trying to make a fight, try to get back to the top, trying to make a fight with these bigger heavyweights, Fury, Usyk and Wilder and all those, he should try to stay active.
To you, kind of more as a neutral, obviously maybe slightly biased being from the UK. If he went Wilder, lost to Wilder, was knocked out probably by Wilder, that's probably his only path to victory, right? For Wilder, he doesn't really ever win on points. Would you still be interested in the Fury fight afterwards?
I'm not really interested in it now. I'm just not. I mean, I know it's a money fight, but.
And is that because you think it's too obvious of a winner?
I don't want to say that I'm not interested. Let me rephrase that. I am interested, obviously. I'm a fan, but like I don't know. I guess I just like these fights are in the UK, not in the UK, but they're in like the Middle East, and it's just kind of like we go to we watch these events, and we go to these events, especially out here in the West Coast and stuff, and the atmosphere around the audiences and the crowd and everything is like it contributes to the whole atmosphere of the show, of the fights. So I mean, if it was in the UK, Wembley or big stadium or whatever, or an arena or something in the UK, I mean, obviously that'd be great. It'd look great on TV, but in the Middle East, the fandom is just not there, and it kind of sucks the energy out of it. But that's where the money's at right now. That's where the money's at. That's why there's a lot of fights and events going over there, which because they get paid. So I don't know. I'm more interested in AJ Wilder than I am in AJ Fury. But if Wilder knocks out AJ, I don't want to see Wilder Fury 4. I don't want to see Wilder Fury 4.
I don't know why that keeps getting spoken about. I've been a boxing geek. I watch a lot of YouTube, IFL TV, ID Boxing, and Boxing Social, and over the last few weeks, I don't know, maybe because it's the heavyweight week, that's been spoken about more and more. And I'm like, who wants to see that? He beat him 3 times.
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously, if Wilder gets on a winning streak and then beats some of these other guys like AJ, Ruiz, and kind of builds his hype back up, okay, maybe. But even still, it's just like, no, like, put Wilder in there against AJ, put him in there against even Usyk, who else? Who else do we have? Who else am I missing? Heavyweights.
Joe Joyce,
yeah. Joe Joyce is there too, like, yeah, like I said, if you had to ask me right now, which heavyweight fight do I want to see at the top of my list? It's probably a tie between AJ Wilder and Fury Usyk. Fury Usyk, like, it's competitive. Obviously Fury might be the slight favorite in that, maybe more than slight. But Usyk is he's got great skills. He is smaller, so that is going to be a tougher fight against Fury for him because Fury is so much bigger than him, and Fury can move. Just as good or even better than Usyk. So, but it's like skill against skill. So that's interesting. And then AJ Wilder, that's just competitive because they're both about the same height. It's a KO artist against a more cautious fighter now, but it's right now I'm interested in both of those. Those are the ones I want to see. Like, if you say, oh, which one do you want to see first? Doesn't really matter, but those are my heavyweight matchups that I'd like to see right now.
I think we'll see AJ White in 12 weeks, and then we'll see AJ Fury around September, and then we'll see AJ Fury 2 probably in Easter. Maybe there's not much money in the UK. That those 2 fights in the UK, they'll probably be like, they could get like 100 million.
Right, but I still there's a chance that AJ Fury, if they fight twice, one of them is in, I think the first one is in the Middle East, and then the second one is in the UK.
100%, 100% agree. First one will be in Saudi, they'll get like 60 million each or something like that, and then the second one will be Wembley or something like that in like Easter, and they'll probably pick up 20 or 30 million each, and that's nearly $100 million, $100 million pounds, man. So
that's nuts. Is the pound stronger than the American dollar right now? Do we know?
Last time I looked, it was like the pound was stronger. It was only like 1.2, so you get $1.
Oh, okay.
$1.20.
Slightly, yeah. Crazy. Also on the card, Fabio Wardley remains undefeated at 16-0 with the 4th round TKO over Michael Coffey. This was for the WBA Continental Heavyweight title. I feel like we haven't, maybe I'm wrong, but when's the last time we saw Wardley in the ring?
When he fought Nathan Gorman.
When was that?
Ooh. Several months ago. I can't remember exactly. A few months back, where he fought Gorman. Gorman came in looking like, super heavy, and then we spoke about, how much love for the sport did Gorman have? He looked like he just wanted to get out of there.
Yeah. So, I was reading on Twitter that this was a pretty controversial stoppage. What did you think about it?
I thought it was a little bit early, but I understood it because he was kind of like on the ropes, riding the shots, riding some of them, taking a couple of them, but he was probably...
Wardley or Coffey? Who was on the ropes?
Coffey, sorry.
Yeah.
Coffey was on the ropes, kind of like riding the shots, and I can understand what the referee's looking at it, and he's thinking like, okay, he's not throwing anything back, but he wasn't really taking a lot of them flush. They were kind of like coming off the gloves and stuff like that, but when you play silly games like that, unfortunately, at times you win silly prizes, and it looked like it was going to be one-way traffic, and maybe the referee did stop Coffey from just taking one flush and getting knocked out. But I can understand why a lot of people were peed off, and fair play to a lot of the people on the show because they actually did say that. A lot of the time they would just kind of like ride with, sit on the fence and not really say anything. But I think pretty much all of the presenters kind of agreed it was a little bit early.
Now, Wardley, how old is Wardley? How do we know?
I think he's like mid-20s, 25,
Okay.
26, 27, around that age.
I thought he was like at least 30, so he's getting to that record or to that moment where I think he's when do you think? How many more fights before he really has to step it up?
He's 28. I would say you can take your time with him because of the fact, like they always say, I think he had a handful of like white collar fights in the UK before he turned professional. So, he is slowly but surely like learning like whilst he's on the job. But, he's British title holder and we know how much that's loved over in the UK. I know there was talk of him fighting David Adelaide. He turned up to the media day and it looks like that could be next for him. But he's done outstanding. If you think about what he was doing, he was working, doing the white collar fights, to now be British champion, WBA continental champion, fighting on some of these huge matchroom shows. Whatever he's done now, Dan, I think he's done unbelievable as it is to get to where he is already. So anything else is a bonus. I think anything else is a bonus for him. But he talks well and he seems super down to earth, and I don't think he lets any of this really get away from him. He never really looks, nervous or overawed by the occasion. So, yeah, hopefully he can keep going.
And also this past weekend from the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I feel like the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino has a lot of locations all over the United States. I think that's like Florida, Vegas, like New York, maybe? I don't know. But in Oklahoma, they got a lot of spots. On ESPN Plus, there's a top-ranked card. Robeisy Ramirez gets the 12th win of his career with a 12-round unanimous decision win over Isaac Dogboe, who takes the third professional loss of his career. Ramirez wins the fight by scores of 118-109, 119-108, and 117-110 in this featherweight matchup. Ramirez claimed the vacant WBO featherweight world title, so he now has a major world title at 126 pounds. What do you think? What do you think about the fight?
I think most people were picking Robeisy Ramirez. I think his skills and his pedigree, as an amateur and as a pro, he just looked light years from looking at his performances away from, Isaac Dogboe. I thought Dogboe looked actually good, though. I think he's improved a lot ever since going to Barry Hunter. Ever since taking the losses against Navarrete, he went away from just training with his dad and stuff like that, and he's improved a lot. It's going to be like weird for me to say I thought he fought really well in this fight, even though he lost on quite unanimous scorecards. But some of the things I was watching him do, I was like, okay, like he's really improved. But Ramirez, he's just legit. Can't wait to see him fight some of the other guys, in and around the featherweight division, because he started off obviously tricky when he turned pro, lost on his debut, I think it was, after being a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, I think it is. And a lot of people were expecting, great things, and I think now he's kind of coming into his prime years as a professional, and he looks like he's managing to do that. His footwork's just outstanding.
Yeah, he's slowly creeping up. He slowly has been creeping up in that division, that featherweight division. And I think there's a lot of people who aren't really aware of, his status right now. But especially now that he's got a major world title at 126 pounds, now people are going to notice who he is. So, but you're right. He had that first loss, which sucked. And then, but now, 12, 13 fights later, he's got a world championship. So we'll see. And then also on the card, another featherweight match, I believe, 126 pounds. Joet Gonzalez, who fought Isaac Dogboe, I believe, last year, or was it earlier this year? I think it was last year. And Dogboe beat him, I think. I don't know if it was unanimous decision win or split decision. Joet Gonzalez, the former Golden Boy fighter, who is now with Top Rank, got the 10-round unanimous decision win over Enrique Vivas by scores of 98-92 twice and 99-91. How likely do you think that they run the rematch back between Dogboe and Joet Gonzalez?
Interesting one. Maybe. I think Joet will want to go somewhere else, though. I think he want to look for some bigger names. Yeah, he normally goes down the WBO route. If you remember last time when he was fighting, it was always WBO when he was with Golden Boy, when he fought Shakur Stevenson. So it'd be interesting to see, where he goes next. He's always an interesting fighter. I thought the scorecards were a little bit one-sided on this one. I thought Vivas actually fought pretty well, but I thought, the right person won, but I thought the scorecards were a little flattering to Joet.
Joet's like a very good, reliable fighter, though. Like he's one of those guys like you can have in your promotional stable and put him on the card. It's reliable. Is that the right word I'm looking for? Like he's, he'll win some, he'll lose some, but
reminds me of Daniel Franco, the way that he fights. No, sorry, Danny Roman. Reminds me of Danny Roman.
Recently retired Danny Roman too.
Yeah, it's kind of similar style to him. Lots of going to the body, stuff like that. His brother's. Is it hard to say the better fighter, Josue?
Joust
is that how you pronounce it?
I think it's Joust. Yeah.
He's just heavy-handed. Goes for the knockouts. He's going to be outstanding. When he grows up, gets a little bit stronger, a little bit bigger.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see. Fight previews this upcoming Saturday, the 8th of April, from the Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, California, here in Los Angeles County. On Showtime, the Towering Inferno returns to the ring. Sebastian Fundora, 20-1, goes up against Brian Mendoza, 21-2 for the WBC interim super welterweight title of the world at 154 pounds. I think obviously Fundora is the favorite going into this fight, the betting odds favorite. But I think Mendoza, has a decent pedigree to make some type of entertaining fight here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it'll be a good fight. I think it'll be a fun fight. Does Sebastian Fundora, the Towering Inferno, ever have a bad fight anymore? Ever since he kind of hit the scene? Not really. So I think it'd be a well-picked opponent for him. And another stage really for Fundora to be on, because this is a WBC interim, the WBC full belt is in that stable. When are they going to just do the right thing and put those guys together? That's
what are both Charlos, or is it just is it Jamal? Jamal is the 154-pound brother, right? I know there was like some type of issues going on with him or something. Like, do we know exactly what happened or why he's been out of the ring so long? Because obviously we know that a lot of these PBC fighters, they have extended layoffs or they're out of the ring for, if you had to compare and contrast them to other promoters, other fighters in other promoter stables, PBC probably has the longest layoffs in between fights. But do we know why Jamal Charlo's been out so long? Like, do we know the exact reason?
No, I don't think they've said exactly the reason. I think they were just saying it was like something personal. They wouldn't go into exactly what it was.
Yeah, I wonder what happened. Because yeah, you're right. I mean, he has Charlo has like all the titles, and it's like, come on, man. Like you're. I mean, hopefully he's not like sick or something bad like that or something. But if it's something like he's having legal problems, because I mean I know there was like he was having legal problems in the past and some other stuff. Like there comes a point where it's like, come on, man, you got to let some belts go here. Let these guys fight. And I think you're right. Fundora and Charlo at 154 pounds is a very interesting matchup. Charlo can obviously fight, and Fundora is just huge, but can also fight. So it'd be very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. But we'll see. We'll see. I think Fundora in this matchup knocks out Mendoza within, I think, 9 rounds, within the first 9 rounds. But I think it'll be an entertaining fight for as long as it lasts. I really do. So, Fundora always seems like he's always in entertaining fights all the time. And it's crazy because like he fights on the inside, even though he's so tall and he has all that reach advantage. So we will see. Also on the card, Brandon Lee, undefeated, 27-0, goes up against Pedro Campa, 34-1. What do you think about this matchup?
Really should be a good victory for Brandon Lee. Pedro Campa, if people remember last year, for Teofimo Lopez, lost by a 7th round TKO. And I think it'll be a similar situation, honestly, for Brandon Lee, who's super heavy-handed. He's got something ridiculous, isn't it? The amount of knockouts he's got, 23 knockouts in 27 fights. So just goes to show, he's definitely got some power in those fists.
Definitely. He's another one that's been slowly creeping up too. So I'm really interested to see how he develops going forward and when he eventually gets his big moment against a significant opponent. Also on the card, Gabriel Maestre, 4-0-1, goes up against the old school Devin Alexander. Devin Alexander's still around. Remember when 10 years ago or whatever, it was him, Timothy Bradley. They were all around their divisions, like the next guys. Devin Alexander's still around. 7 losses, but he's still going. So what do you think? Has he still got it, or should he hang him up?
No, I think Devin, I guess it must be stuck for money or something. It's been, 2 years since he last fought. He's lost 3 of his last 4. You had a majority draw against Victor Ortiz, then he lost to Andre Berto, lost to Ivan Redkach, and then lost to, is it Luke Santamaria? So I think this will be a good victory for Gabriel Maestre, who was a unbelievable amateur. So if you just look at his record, he turned pro against 20-0 Mexican, and then he fought someone who was 27-5, then he fought Daniel Vega, then he fought Mikhail Fox, and then he fought Olympian Taras Sheshuluk to a split draw. So in 5 fights, he's been up against some real good pedigree, and I think Gabriel Maestre will have far too much for over-the-hill Devin Alexander.
These guys with this amateur pedigree experience is crazy. They're just like, man, the promoters have enough confidence in you to throw you in there with some guys who have like 30 professional fights, 20 to 30 professional fights already under the belt. So, yeah, the bar is high for him, but I think he's doing okay so far. As opposed to that split draw he had, it seems like he's doing okay so far. Also on the card, heavyweight match of Frank Sanchez, 21-0, who's still, I believe, trained by. Is he still trained by? No, he went to Joe Goosen, huh? Frank Sanchez.
Yeah,
so Frank Sanchez left when Ryan Garcia left. So I thought that was really interesting. I wonder why that happened. Maybe him and Ryan were close, or Ryan recruited him over. He's like, hey, Joe Goosen wants. I don't know. I thought that was very, very interesting.
I think it might have been manager.
Really?
The lawyer, the old PBC lawyer guy.
Oh wow. Lupe.
I think it was something to do with Lupe. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't want him with the Canelo camp, maybe because Canelo's not Team PBC technically. So maybe it could be. And then Joe Goosen's a little bit more connected to PBC family because he's Goosen, and then Tom Goosen, Tom Brown
does the commentary. Did used to do the commentary as well.
Yeah. So yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I'm sure that was a strategic move, you know. And I'm sure Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy aren't fans of it when Ryan went to Joe Goosen. I don't know. I'm sure they are because he had the beef with the Canelo. So now that I think about it, who knows? Who really knows? And he goes up against Daniel Martz, 20-10-1. So we'll see. But Sanchez is obviously the favorite in this fight. And then also another heavyweight matchup. A Southern California native, Chris Arreola, the Nightmare Arreola, 38-7-1, returns to the ring as he goes up against Matthew McKinney, 13-6-3. So a couple of heavyweight matchups here right there. If you're in town this upcoming weekend, the 8th of April, you want to watch some boxing right there at the Dignity Health Sports Park, former StubHub Center, former Home Depot Center. All these names they used to have. There's not a bad seat in the house in that setup, right? Even if you're all the way at the top, it's like almost if you're front row. So not a bad seat in the house in that area. So if you want to watch some boxing, go check it out this upcoming Saturday on Showtime, headlined by Sebastian Fundora and Brian Mendoza for the WBC interim super welterweight title. Also, this upcoming Saturday, the 8th of April, from the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, on ESPN and ESPN Plus, Shakur Stevenson returns to the ring, 19-0 again, as he goes up against Shuichiro Yoshino, 16-0. So, what do we know about Yoshino? Are you aware of him? What do we know about him?
I honestly don't know too much about him. Just what the top rank publications that have been putting out have said. Shakur Stevenson's next level, isn't he? I think we've all agreed that since he stepped up and fought like the likes of Valdez and stuff like that, we're looking for him to hopefully move up and fight some of these other crop of up and coming talents. It's probably looks like he's going to probably face the winner of Devin Haney and Lomachenko at some point this year or maybe next year. So hopefully he doesn't hopefully he doesn't look past this fight hoping to get Devin and Loma and end up slipping up because selfishly I'm looking forward to a fight like that further down the line.
Do you think Haney, because I think reportedly this is his last fight on this top ranked deal, if he beats Lomachenko and retains those titles, do you think he goes back to Matchroom and Eddie Hearn and possibly DAZN, and Shakur Stevenson, top rank in ESPN, have a little bit more difficult time in having Shakur face Devin Haney? Or do you think Haney will be the type of fighter be like, no, he's next. I want to fight the best. Let's go.
Yeah. I thought he had to go back. I thought he was actually still under contract with Matchroom. He just left for these 3 fights because that was part of the deal to get the world title fight. But if his Matchroom deal's completely done and he's completely free after this fight, I think Devin will probably think that he's a big enough star that he'll probably do like a fight-to-fight Canelo-esque type deal.
Could be. Yeah. I mean, he's got the skill, but I wonder if that'll put a damper in the timeline of any potential Devin Haney Shakur Stevenson fight, or even Lomachenko Stevenson. I mean, no, Lomachenko Stevenson there wouldn't be because Lomachenko, they're both under the top rank ESPN banner. But if Haney wins,
I don't think Devin's the type of draw that he believes he is.
But he's got the skill and he is a champ. You're right. I think we agree in terms. I think Haney is the type of guy that if he beats Lomachenko, he'll want the winner of Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia for exposure, business purposes. I don't know, because Haney's also like, sometimes he has that old school personality where he's like, oh no, I want to fight the best guys. So he could be like, oh, let me fight Stevenson. Let me fight, But if he beats Lomachenko, maybe he might be like, hey, I deserve a next level payday. Give me Ryan Garcia or Tank Davis, whoever the winner was. You never know. But yeah, I think in terms of pound for pound, when you have all these guys fighting together, especially when Tank Davis and Ryan and Devin Haney, Loma and all that, if Stevenson fights all those guys, I think Stevenson beats all of them at 135 pounds. I mean, who would give him his toughest test? Haney, probably. I think Haney would probably give him his toughest test, no?
Yeah.
Maybe Davis. I think Davis. Yeah. Davis and Haney, maybe.
I just wonder if Dave Davis would just be too small.
Well, yeah, he might be. He might be because Stevenson's a big guy too. Like he's a bigger guy. But
and because I think Tank only really fights at 135 because he just doesn't want to. Sometimes he's too lazy to get down to 130, or maybe he just believed his skills were that good he could do 135, and he has been doing. But I think if he fought someone like a Haney, the size difference, I'd have to see what the size difference would be. But yeah, I think Shakur and Devin is probably be the closest fight between those two. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, looking forward. I do want to see how Yoshino. He's undefeated. Sometimes these unknown guys, we don't really know too much about them, and they're the most dangerous. Sometimes that's the most dangerous opponent you can have. So we will see. Also on the card in the co-main event, Keyshawn Davis also returns to the ring, 7-0 against Anthony Yiggett, 26-2-1. Keyshawn Davis is still early on in his career, but he's also one of those young fighters who has a lot of hype behind him in his career. Do you think in the next 3 or 4 years it pans out? The investment?
Yeah, unless any crazy injuries come through, Keyshawn Davis looks legit, doesn't he? I think everybody who's got a set of eyes can see that unless he does something ridiculous outside of boxing or he gets injured or something, he's got the skills to pay the bills and he'll be a world champion at some point in his career. And he looks like he's got his head down. You never hear anything wrong about him, do you? You don't hear him getting into any sort of trouble or anything like that. He had a long, distinguished amateur career, so I think he's probably got some good pedigree and hopefully built up some good habits in him, which will see him, fulfill the potential I think we all see, as a pro.
Yep, exactly. Running off the card, Jared Anderson, the former U.S. Olympian, 13-0, goes up against George Arias, 18-0. So battle of undefeated records here. Jared Anderson is another one under that top-ranked stable. A lot of hype behind him coming off of the Olympics and all that. So he's one of the ones that in about maybe 2 to 3 years, he's probably going to be that next crop of heavyweights that are going to be at the top. That you would think if you had to estimate based on past success and pedigree and all that. So we will see. Also, this upcoming Saturday from the Boeing Center at Techport, San Antonio, Texas. I can never say these Eastern European names. Murajan Akhmadaliev, 11-0, goes up against Marlon Tapales, 36-3. This is for the IBF and WBA super bantamweight titles of the world. And then also, this is a Matchroom card, by the way, on DAZN. Also on the card, Jesse Bam Rodriguez of the Texas area, San Antonio, Texas area, 17-0, goes up against Christian Gonzalez Hernandez, 15-1. Rodriguez is defending his WBO flyweight championship of the world. Jesse Rodriguez went back down to flyweight, right? Because he was at Superfly, but his brother has a title at that weight, so I think that's why he went back down to 112, right?
Yeah, I think he's just going to try to pick up another world title at another weight. Then he can be two weight world champion. I think it's something that Robert Garcia said that he wanted him to go back down, and I think I think he'll beat Christian Gonzalez on the weekend and pick up the WBO flyweight world title, and hopefully we'll see him with something we're probably going to talk about later in the show. Sonny Edwards has just signed with Matchroom. Now we've got all of those guys all on the same side of the street. So I can't wait for that. Jesse Rodriguez, Sonny Edwards, Julio Cesar Martinez, and then
what a round robin that is.
Yeah, and then obviously they can go up and down in weights, and you've got Chocolatito, Juan Francisco Estrada, all those guys. Just take my money. Also on the card, Raymond Ford, 13-0-1, goes up against Jesse Magdaleno, 29-1. So it looks like, is this Jesse Magdaleno's first fight outside of Top Rank? Good question. I think so. I think it's his first fight back. He had
I think it is.
I think the Top Rank show we did last year was a Resorts World Las Vegas, and most of those shows are Top Rank. So yeah, I believe so.
So I wonder if this is a one fight deal with Matchroom DAZN, or maybe this is kind of like a tryout matchup. Like if he wins, maybe Eddie Hearn signs him to a multi-fight deal.
Yeah, I mean, if he gets the shock win over Raymond Ford, who is kind of one of Matchroom USA's, talents, up and coming talents, I guess. If Magdaleno manages to shock him, I'm sure they'll probably have options on, keeping him. From the rumors, from the rumors we heard when he was with Top Rank, it looks like he tried to bet on himself, didn't he? And turned down quite a few big paydays, and it hasn't seemed to have worked. He's now turning up as a B-side on a Matchroom show.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. He gave it a shot, and it backfired on him. So, let's see. I think he's still a pretty young guy too. So, former world champion and everything.
Yes, he's 31.
Yeah, see, he's still got some years. So, he was a WBO champ with Top Rank, but he's a good win for Ford. If he beats him, it's a good win on his record. But if Magdaleno wins, Do you
remember who the big name that he beat?
Magdaleno?
Yeah. And it always shocks me every time I remember it.
I forgot.
2016, Nonito Donaire.
He beat Donaire? Oh wow, yeah. I don't even remember that.
Yep.
But look at where Donaire in the subsequent years, look at where Donaire was and look at where Magdaleno was. Donaire went back down in weight, ended up finding the monster in a way, Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't remember that at all. That's crazy. That's probably the best win on his record, right?
Oh, by far. Yeah, beat him.
Yeah.
Unanimous decision. You might have been there. Thomas and Mack Center.
Oh, in Vegas. Oh, I think I was there for that.
Manny Pacquiao, Jesse Vargas.
Yes. Oh my God, I was there for that. Yeah, that was a Thomas and Mack Center. That was a top-ranked pay-per-view that they had to put on by themselves because I don't think HBO or anybody wanted that fight against Jesse Vargas, but Top Rank wanted it. So they put the pay-per-view on them by themselves. Yeah, I remember that.
And I bet you don't remember this. Teofimo Lopez's debut.
He debuted on that card?
Yep.
Oh wow. I don't remember that. He might have honestly he probably debuted before I even got in the building.
He was first fight he won by KO.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I'm sure I didn't get there early enough because those fights, for listeners who haven't been to a fight or any fight event, there's sometimes the good amount of time. There's a lot of fights. The TV portion of the entire show might start like at 6 p.m. and go until 9 p.m. or something like that. But doors open, and there's actually fights starting at like 2:00. In the afternoon, like 4 or 5 hours before the actual TV portion. And there's fights during those 4 or 5 hours. So it's a long day. If you pay a ticket to go to a fight and you literally want to get your complete money's worth, you go from 2:00 and you're going to be there until like 10 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. It's a long day. And then, if you're hungry, you got to go to the concession stand and keep buying stuff. And obviously concessions are expensive, so it's a long day, definitely. Also on the card, Israel Madrimov, 8-0-1, goes up against Rafael. Oh man, I don't even want to give that a shot. Rafael, I'm just going to stay with that. And then Mark Castro, also the former. Actually, no, he was an Olympian. He had an extensive amateur career, national Golden Gloves champion, amateur champion, and all that. Mark Castro, Fresno, California, 9-0 returns as he goes up against Ricardo Lopez Torres, 16-6-3. You were the one that's saying, because we've had Castro on before here on the last round, but you've been saying before that he still really hasn't convinced you yet, right? In terms of what they expect him to develop into.
Yeah, I don't think he'll develop into much.
And so, I mean, when would he have to convince you? What do you think? Like,
Well, even with some of these carefully selected opponents, the first time they stuck him in there with somebody that had a bit of a chin and actually wanted to hit him back, he didn't perform very well. I actually thought he lost that one in San Diego that we were at. But yeah, that fight there, I thought he lost that fight, but he was obviously given it, as the A side, and then ever since then they've kind of given him some people who are a little bit softer. They're not in there, heavy-handed brawlers and stuff like that. And he does the same things over and over again. He gets in there, he headhunts a lot, gets very focused on that. Doesn't like to get hit. I just don't think he has that dog in him, he may get like some type of career, but I don't see him being like a world champion, somebody that we're all going to talk about in years to come and stuff like that, which is what I'm judging him as, because he's one of the big Matchroom prospects. But I just don't see it, and they keep trying. Every time they have a big card, like how many Canelo cards has he been on? And I don't see what they see at the minute. I think he'll be like another Gabriel Flores for Top Rank.
Well, maybe, yeah. Flores, definitely. All right, I'm still interested. Is he still signed with Top Rank? I'm assuming he is, right?
Yeah, he's still signed with Top Rank, but he's him and like the Vargas brothers, the Vargas clan are kind of all doing stuff now. Like his dad's helping out with Fernando, and they were at Fernando Vargas Jr.'s fight at Pomona. The dad and the son.
Right. That's interesting. News and notes section of this week's episode of the Last Round podcast. Mauricio Lara and Leigh Wood will officially meet in a WBA featherweight title rematch on May 27th in Manchester, England, according to Matchroom Boxing, which announced this past weekend. Lara, 26-2-1 with 19 KOs, scored a 7th round TKO victory over Wood this past February, right? This past February, to win his first ever professional world title. Do you think it ends the same? What do you think? I think it does. Lara's he's a beast, man.
Yeah, he is. Leigh Wood was doing really well. It's just he has to kind of like the Wilder thing, isn't it? The Wilder Fury thing. He has to be on his game for 12 rounds against someone like Lara because he's such a big guy. He hits so hard. And yeah, I think if you're telling me, like, I'll be allowed to say nowadays, gun to the head, if you're telling me gun to the head to pick one, I think I would go with history repeating itself and, Mauricio Lara. And what do they normally say when history in rematches, normally the same person wins and they actually win quicker and better than the first time. So I think that's unfortunately what we might see.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind seeing the rematch because you're right. Leigh Wood was, up until he got knocked out, he was fighting very well. It's like, okay, it was pretty competitive. And then Lara just, like, he catches everybody. He just caught him and boom, knocked his lights out. So I as a fan, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see Lara Navarrete, right? At some point, in the future, like, please, boxing gods, give us that. And if that could be for all the belts or something like that, that would be even better because that would be an absolute war. You could give me Sanders up for a trilogy on day one before we even see the first fight.
Lara Navarrete in like LA.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Unbelievable.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. Put it at like the StubHub Center or Dignity Health or that'd be a fight.
Yeah.
That'd be a big fight. But May 27th, with Leigh Wood and Mauricio Lara are rematching in Manchester, England. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm actually kind of that Lara got the title, but do you think Leigh Wood or something, and maybe in the contract because I think he did have a rematch clause, but do you think it also like, oh, well, if you want this first fight, I get a rematch clause and I also get to choose the location. So we're going back to England. Or do you think that was like a Matchroom decision business wise?
I would imagine just pay. I think probably the purse was probably just bigger in the UK. I think it's going to be, I think they said it's either not trying to do Nottingham because that's where Leigh Wood's from, or I think if they can't get that sewn up, I think it was going to go to Manchester.
Interesting. And then in his first fight in more than 3 years, if you want to call it a fight, Hall of Famer Roy Jones Jr. was defeated by former UFC champion Anthony Pettis by majority decision this past Saturday night in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, by scores of 77-75 and 78-74 for Pettis, while a third judge had it a draw at 76-76. So Roy Jones returning to the ring, maybe he just had that itch and he's like, oh, I want to come back. So he came back and, we'll see. I'm sure he'll come back again. These guys are just sometimes that you can never take out that fighter out of your soul, even after you retire and all that. And then also, you touched on it earlier, Matchroom Boxing recently announced the signing of Sonny Edwards and Jack Catterall and Shannon Ryan. What do you think about each of those signings? Excuse me.
Well, Sonny Edwards is perfect. Like we touched on before, we've now got all of those people at Superfly and Flyweight all on the same promotion. So please, just let those guys all go through each other, and me and you and all the boxing fans will love it. Jack Catterall, I think, good signing. I think Jack wanted to go with him. Hopefully, he could get some shots at some of the bigger titles now, because he was never really banked on too much. He went to Boxer because Boxer wanted to make the fight with Josh Taylor, but I don't think I think he probably felt like more of a B-side, because ever since then, they've never really done anything with him. They've never really got him too many fights, and the Josh Taylor fights kept falling through, which obviously isn't his fault, but he's been really stagnated ever since. And, he was supposed to get a shot at the Undisputed, and then all the belts got relinquished and went in different areas. So, yeah, you've got to really feel for Jack Catterall, because with some really, really, really bad judging, he's in the middle of nowhere with nothing now. He's missed all those big paydays. That would have been life-changing, career-changing money if he'd have got all of those titles from Josh Taylor, and then he's the A-side going into a rematch and so on and so forth. So, yeah, fingers crossed Eddie can, get him some good fights, and hopefully we can see the best of him at Matchroom now. Shannon Ryan.
Shannon Ryan.
Yeah, Shannon Ryan is up-and-coming, female fighter for Matchroom. They have a whole host of women fighters, and it's good for her to go with someone like that, because I think pretty much every single show we see of Eddie's, I think we get at least one female fight on it, compared to like the Golden Boy and PBC and Top Rank, who never really have any. I don't think PBC do any. So it's good for the female fighters to get on Matchroom, I think.
And then also, it's official, Devin Haney will defend his undisputed lightweight championship titles against Vasily Lomachenko on Saturday, May 20th, headlining a Top Rank on pay-per-view ESPN Plus card. I think they've announced, or there was a report of the price at $60, $59.99 here in the United States. And if you compare that to, I think the Ryan Garcia Tank Davis is $85, $84.99 or something like that. Obviously the profile of Ryan and Davis is a little bit higher, so understandable. But competition-wise, this could be a more competitive fight. You would think, but we'll see. In the span of essentially 30 days, you're going to have four of the best 135 pounders in the world fighting each other, which is great. That's great. That's great for boxing. So I'm glad the 135 division, they're all attacking each other like that. But once again, guys, we appreciate you guys listening to this week's episode of The Last Round, episode 215. Also, remember, check out our links. We have shirts, sweaters, and all that stuff available on our Fit Warrior brand webpage. If you go to their site, or if you just go to our links on any of our social sites, Twitter, Instagram, and all that, we have a link on there. Go check out our shirts, check out our sweaters, and help us fund this show. Support us. If you keep listening, give us a shout. But before we completely sign off, once again for this week's episode, Mike, go ahead and let them know where they can find us and follow us.
We're at The Last Round 12 on Instagram and Twitter. And next week is a pretty quiet week. I think we have one card from the UK with Denzel Bentley. So we'll try to get you a guest on that we can, do some sort of deep dive, some sort of deep interview to give you a nice hour-long show.
Nice hour-long or more show. So for my co-host Michael Shepard, I'm Danny Z. This is The Last Round.
Thanks for supporting and listening to the show. Follow us at The Last Round 12 on social media. Rate, review, and subscribe. This is the Last Round Podcast.